When you're working at a venue, do you do exactly what the venue tells you to do? Right away, without question? Hi, it's Bill. This is Creative License. And thanks again for checking in on this little dog and pony show. And thank you again if you are kind to my sponsors. Electro Voice, DJ Event Planner, Promo Only, Disc Jockey News, Perfect Portals, my workshop, The Entertainment Experience. There's another one coming up. Reach out to me. I'd love for you to be a part of it. So, good question. A young DJ asked me, and here's my answer. I guess it depends on the situation. Are you being paid by the venue? Is the venue signing your checks? That usually answers that question for me. If in fact the venue has paid me to be in service of them, then of course I'm working for them. I am creating for them. I'm expressing my art on their behalf. What they want is what I'm doing for them. They're going to write me a check at the end of the night. But if you're in their venue, the number one person who can tell you what to do is the person who's writing the check. And if that's a bride or a groom, or the parents of the bride or the groom, or whoever that is, that's your master for the evening. And for a venue to ask you to do a thing, it's not uncalled for you to question the thing they're asking, because you have an agenda that's been set forth for you by the client. I'll give you a couple of examples. I need you to announce that people make their way in because speeches will start. Okay, well, if in fact the people that you're serving are in place for that sort of thing to happen, that's great. Usually that's not too tough of a thing to do. You've got to make sure that people are in their seats for dinner on time. That is part of your job. You direct people and you move them around to where they have to be on time, right? So I don't think that's an unreasonable request. I want you to do the speeches now. Well, I know you want me to do the speeches now, but before I do that, I'm going to be sure that all of the VIPs that are supposed to be in place are in place. For me, not only do the parents need to be in the room, the bride and groom in the room, everyone in the wedding party in the room, but all of the guests must be seated and or all their attention needs to be placed to where those speeches are happening. So before I announce, and now here's the best man for a speech, and just let the best man be at the, let the best man be there to have to get everyone's attention when he's not necessarily skilled at that sort of thing. That's not serving your client. And I've had venues push me to move the timeline up regardless of whether or not the client was ready for me to do so. And it feels as if you have to do that, right? But the truth is, your job and your master is the bride and the groom and the job that they've hired you to do. And the job they've hired you to do is just not to just make an announcement whenever anyone in the room asks you to do so. And if you've taken the time ahead of everything to be sure that all of those things are in place that need to be done, and that you've talked to the client about what kind of impact they want, if they don't care if anybody sees the speeches, then yeah, just why even announce it? Hand the best man the microphone, and it's up to him to try to get everybody's attention. But if it's your job to be sure not only he gets everyone's attention before he begins, that everyone in the room that's supposed to hear the speeches are there, and that it happens not only within the timely fashion, but when all those things are ready to go, that it isn't up to someone who's not paying attention to that to push your timeline faster and more forward. So the answer really is, can the venue tell you what to do? It depends. Normally, the venue can't tell me what to do without first knowing that they have had a conversation with me and my client weeks before at a planning session. So I know that in that moment, it will be up to them to make those decisions. But usually, if we're having those kind of client meetings, my client knows that it's really up to me. And I am being sure that the timeline for the venue is honored, but honestly, the timeline of the client is honored first. There's a lot more examples I can give you, but that's one, and I'm sure if we go to each one, you'd be able to come up with the answer that I have come up with. What do you think of this? Write down your comments below and tell me. Otherwise, at least like this and share this and subscribe to this, all that stuff you're supposed to do. I'm Bill. This is Creative License, and I'll see you next week.